Okay, so a couple of weeks ago I did the front suspension, bushings, etc., and doing the rear on my wife's car. Like I said before, I didn't really see anything on the whole kit and caboodle, so I figured I'd post it and help somebody else out. Okay, so here we are at the rear suspension. My symptoms are on, this is my wife's car. It was squeaking at all four corners and clunking at the front. So I've already done the front. I've done the opposite side, so this is the driver's side. So I'm going to be replacing, I've already inspected, I know. This is the upper arm. It goes into the trailing arm. So this is pretty much shot. That's pretty much shot. This is squeaking. This is the trailing arm bushing. We'll be replacing that. And we'll replace the lower arm bushing. There's three. There's one at the body, one at the trailing arm, and one where this shock ties in. And then also, where is it? Here's the sway bar, and it's got a bushing right in there that ties to the lower arm, and those two bushings are pretty much toast. Because I'm in there, I'm going to replace at the front of this trailing arm. It sits like this, kind of in there. Up at the front is the compensator arm, so that's the toe, and I just got a new one. I got two of those from Honda, so I'm doing both sides. So pretty much the whole thing. I'm not replacing the shocks. The shocks seem fine, so we'll do that. On the other side, I had taken the hub and the disc brake off. I won't be doing that on this side. The manual said to, but it didn't seem like you had to, so I think I can do it without it. You just have to be careful taking off the ABS sensor wire, which goes around the back there, and then goes right there. Alright, so I got my 5-year-old yelling at me. Need something, so I will be right back. Okay, so I've got my rear brake hose clamped off with a pair of vice grips. Looks like the brake line was in good shape. I don't think I'm going to damage it. Then I'm going to disconnect the brake line from the caliper and then undo this little clip, undo the pin, undo that clip, and take the parking brake out. So this is the parking brake assembly, and you're going to disconnect this. Also, this is the ABS line. So I'm going to remove that. Ties in right there, so I'm going to remove that right there. It's on the front side of the rear brake. Right there, sorry. Alright, so one thing I forgot to mention is I did this on the other side. You have to remove your center console. It's real easy. It's like 6 screws. Some screws right here. Some screws in the side right there, and then the whole thing pops out. And then undo your parking brake adjustment so that you'll be able to eventually put the parking brake back on. Alright, so we've undone the brake line and we've undone the parking brake line. I undid the bracket there. I just screwed the bolt back into the back side of the trailing arm. I like to do that. I also did the same with the 4 screws that hold in the ABS assembly. So to remove the lower arm, the trailing arm, we'll undo the 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3, that hold in the upper arm. There are 3 bolts that hold in the lower arm. You can see the lower arm right there. There's one at the frame, one at the base of the shock, and one where the lower arm ties into the back side of the trailing arm. We'll undo the 2 compensator bolts, and then we'll undo these 2 large bolts and lower the whole thing down carefully. I'll have it jacked up right here, and lower it down. Alright, so take these guys out. Hopefully it reaches. Well, that's that. Okay, so I got these 2 bolts off. Next I'll undo the sway bar so that I can drop the control arm and take that guy off. Alright, so got the sway bar link out. These two bolts are out. And I'll take that bolt out, I'll lower this down. You'll have to get your pry bar in there to get this guy separated because you've separated everything, and the whole, the trailing arm is now tilted forward, which puts stress on this joint, so it's a little bit pain in the ass to get off, but it's not a big deal. Just giving you a heads up. Okay, so I'm going to take some of the weight off this trailing arm a little bit, and then I'm going to lower that guy, and then I'll get the front compensator arm. Okay, also I forgot to mention, undo the two 10mm bolts that hold your ABS line on so that you can lower your lower control arm. And one thing is, which I forgot to do on the other side, is don't forget to reassemble this before you reassemble your geometry, because you have to take the whole thing apart like I did again to put it back together. So just remember to reattach this before you start putting everything back together, or as you do it and before you do this guy. Alright, so I'm at the front of the trailing arm, and this is where the front of the trailing arm, the compensator arm, ties into the frame. And like I said, on the back of the bracket there, or the front of the bracket, depending how you look at it, are the little marks, and I've made a mark there for the bottom of the bolt and outline the bolt. So hopefully I'll get it, the same toe when I get it back in there later. Okay, you're looking at the compensator arm. I'm looking towards the rear, so from the front. So now I'm just going to undo the two bolts that hold the trailing arm bushing on, and lower the trailing arm and remove it. Alright, so the trailing arm is almost out. Don't forget to undo that bracket for the brake line, which I did. So I'll do that now, and we'll take a look. Okay, so here's everything out. Take a look at what we got. You can see this guy starting to go. The other one was, the passenger side, this is the driver's side. It's in better shape, but I replaced it. They're squeaking a lot. Let's see, what do we got here? This thing's in, let's see if we got the focus. Anyway, I don't know if you can see it. This is the sway bar link, that's pretty shot. The bushing on the, right there, it's pretty shot too. Here's the upper arm. It wasn't in too bad shape, but I replaced it anyway. Actually, no, I take that back. It's pretty cracked in there. This is the one that was cracked. And what else? One of those was cracked. I forget which one. So all in all the bushings are pretty shot. I mean, the car's a 96, so it's pretty old. So I've just put all the bolts back in so I don't lose them. That's just what I do. So now we'll, and here's the lower arm. I didn't show that guy. So we've got new bushings for this as well. We'll press those out. Alright, so now we'll press them out. I'll show that next. One more thing is, on the other side, I took the disc, caliper, and hub off. You don't have to. It saves you about an hour's worth of work on each side. For me, but this thing is buttload more heavy and cumbersome and unwieldy, so it's kind of a trade-off. On the one hand, I wish I had it off, but I'm glad I didn't have the extra work. Because you have to take the caliper off, you got to take everything out, you got to undo this, you got to undo the spindle nut and everything. So that's what they had you do in the directions. On the other side, I just kind of followed it from my handy Haynes manual. Alright, so it's kind of your choice. Okay, so I've taken out the compensator arm, and I've got it up on blocks and scrap I-beam I bought at the metal shop. Actually, if any of you guys don't know, you can get scrap metal for like $1 a pound. All kinds of shapes, so it's handy. So I've got it up on blocks, and I'm just going to take my 2-pound hammer, tap in a circle. I've got a drift, and so I'll set up my camera and I'll show that. You want to do it from the back side forward, and I just hit the perimeter on both sides with some PB Blaster. So we'll knock that out. One thing I forgot to mention is I took and scribed the line along the center line on both sides. This is the top and this is the bottom. And you'll also see that the bushing is slightly thicker on the bottom. And it says lower here. The replacements actually don't, so you have to note that the thicker part goes on the bottom and this is the top. So I'm looking at it upside down here. Okay, so I'm not really whacking it, I'm just giving it some taps. Oh, and for the record, I want to make sure. So it's just shy of flush at the top and a little bit further out at the bottom. So it's actually pretty much flush. There's another guy who had a video on that. Oh God, there's a ton of them. Okay, so here's the replacement bushing. I just got it at Auto Parts Store from Moog. Long side goes. Again, this is upside down, so here's the top. And you can see one side's thicker, this side's thicker, so it'll go in this way. And I'll line it up with the 2 score marks. Now, there's a couple videos out there. There's a couple guys got a useful video that I was using. This one guy, BRI_AN. It was like, I forget, they had his YouTube username, and another British guy, I forget, on putting him back in. They just hammered him in, but I kept having issues where it started going in crooked like that, and I don't know what was going on. I couldn't do it. I'm just retarded or something. So what I do, I'll show you. I got some C-clamps, and again, I just have it around, scrap metal. Each of these pieces is like $1, so it's not like, the scrap metal place, or scrap bin at the metal place. So I'll set it up and show you how I got it in to keep it going in straight. Alright, it's kind of a kludge, so don't laugh. But, so I kept having problems with, I'd start hammering in the front of the bushing to hammer it back in. There's a couple videos where it's like, the guys are like, that, it goes right in. Mine just kept going in sideways. I don't know what the problem is. So here's what I worked on. I got 3 C-clamps with 3 flat pieces of stock on the back. And I just crank each one of these 3 in turn, and it keeps it going in straight. Then, once it's straight, I can start to tap it. So, anyway, that's what I worked up. It works. You don't need the big tool, the air hammer tool, and it keeps it going in straight. So, I'm just going to do that. Alright, so I'm just tightening up each one of these, like a half turn at a time. Maybe a quarter turn. It just starts going in straight. Then once it's seated, I tap it with the hammer, and then loosen up the slack. And now each one of them has about a quarter turn of slack. And you alternately just, Alright, so there it's started, and I'll just tap it in like normal. So, anyway, that's how I do it. Alright, so I finished it up over on my stump so I could give it some better wax. I don't have the biggest vise, but you can see there's the top, there's the bottom, fatter side towards the bottom, skinnier side towards the top, and it lines up on my previous scribe marks. It's just flush here, just below flush actually, and a little bit below here, and even there. So now we'll do the lower control arm. Alright, so we're going to press out the lower control arm bushings. That's the frame. It's where the damper and shock assembly ties in, and there is where it connects to the rear trailing arm. Here's the part numbers. There's 2 of the 52365. They go on the ends, and that's the one at the damper. I think if I recall, and I'll double check, it's a 27 and a 32 that I use to press them out, and you want to use silicone grease. I use the Honda grease. It's good stuff. You don't want to use petroleum grease to, lube up your rubber stuff. It'll degrade them. I think that includes lithium grease. I'm not sure if I recall. But silicone is definitely safe. So I've just got this is a pipe bending frame that my buddy loaned me, and I rigged it up with my own jack, and again, just the scrap metal, and I'll just push them out and push them in, and I'll show it. One thing I forgot to mention is a short piece of 1.5 inch pipe. I don't know if this is schedule 40 or what. It's just, again, it's just scrap. I got at Home Depot with a scrap bin. I said, can I have a piece of that? But yeah, you can see 1.5 inch pipe, and the bushing will just pop right into that. I'll just set it up. Okay, so nothing fancy. What is that? 1/2 inch bar stock. I've got the 27mm socket below it. I'll line that up, and then the 1/2 inch pipe on top, and I'll just press it out. I just put a clamp on the top, you'll see that later, just to keep those 2 bars from spreading apart. They want to spread out on this thing. I've seen guys use, just a frame they welded up, or, a real shop press, which I don't have, or, you can pay $30 per arm. I think I had a guy quote me like $25 a bushing to do it. It was a little pricey, so I'm saving myself some cash. But yeah, you can take it to like Wheelworks or whatever and get it pushed out. Okay, so third time's a charm. Sorry, I got my front and my back suspension bushings mixed up. It's a 15/16. But, I mean, not like it matters, whatever socket you're using. This is just my, from my impact set. And there it goes. And it's out. So yeah, I wear face shields because I'm chicken. because the rust, etc., they chemically kind of bond together, so getting them out is a lot harder than getting them in. So I like to be careful. Alright, I'll just do the rest. I'm going to charge my phone because my battery's about to die, and I'll do the rest on this guy. Okay, so I got the 3 bushings out. I'll take some red Scotch-Brite and clean up the inside of these. Put some silicone grease on there and press in the new ones. You can see I kind of went cockeyed on the, let's see right there, see that burr on the, at around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So I'll take a little rat tail file and clean up that burr. My socket went a little crooked, and I'll emery cloth that a little, get it a little smoother. And then I'll just push in the new ones. Alright. Okay, so sorry about that earlier confusion. I mixed up the pushing in, what I recalled, with the 27 versus pushing out with the 15/16. I should have just measured. I just got on my calipers and found the one that was like, I don't know, like 30 thousandths undersized of the bushing. So I've just got a 32 here, 27 here. I've got it lubed up with my Honda Shinizu grease, silicone grease, because you don't want to damage the bushing rubber. And I'm just going to push it in. A little bit countersunk if I can. There's a little chamfer there. About there. Okay. And we'll do the rest. And there you have it. They're all pressed in. Now we will, what will we do next? The sway bar link, as well as the, we'll push those bushings in. Alright. Alright, so there is the old link, or the old bushing, and here's the new one. There's the part number from Honda. Okay, so pushing this guy in, what I'm going to use is a flat plate on the bottom. I've got it all lubed up with silicone grease, 32 on the top, on the side where the metal's pressed over, and a couple of 7/8 washers so that I'm pushing the rubber and the, oh shit, so that I'm pushing the rubber and the shaft. Bear with me. And hopefully it goes in smoothly. I'm actually pausing and it's kind of slipping up in there. I don't want to cut it. Down. trickier than at least I think, than the other metal ones. And it's kind of pinched right there. I'm going to get something soft that I can push that in there. Right back. Alright, so I just changed the angle a little and pressed it again. And went in. I think. There you go. So, it's in. Like I said, I don't know. Maybe I don't know the trick, but I think that's trickier to put in without tearing it than the metal ones. But yeah, it's in. Now I'll do the other one. Alright, so to get out this bushing, what I did is I found a 1/4 20 bolt. I think it's a 2.5 inch bolt. 3 inches would probably be better, but it's what I had with a couple of washers. I put a 24mm socket on there. I put this through the back with a couple of washers here so that it doesn't pull through. Hold on, let me put the camera down while I get the camera out of the way while I set this up. So I'm just gonna put those on there. Hopefully without dropping. Alright, so now I'm also going to bring this out of the way. So I got my 24mm socket, 1/4 20 bolt with a washer on the back, and 2 washers on the front. So I got my wrench to hold it steady. And I'm using my impact driver, but you know, you can use anything. Socket. Alright, so and it's out. And then just, you know, undo it to get it out of there. Duh. Okay, so I'm going to reuse the metal part that pushes out, but I don't know if you can see down in there. It's all rusted, so I'm going to take my Dremel to that lightly and get all the corrosion. The other side was exactly the same, so yours is probably about as bad, and this is California, so I'll be right back. Alright, so here's the new one. There is the Honda part number. I cleaned out the sleeve. To be honest, I mean, it was just my mistake. I forgot to buy the $2.70 part on Honda. So you can buy those as well. So I'm just going to, with my gloves on, try and do it. Never mind. It just pushes through, I forgot. So, put a little grease, silicone grease, remember. And shove this guy through here. There we go. Okay, so we're going to reinstall the trailing arm. Going to get the wooden blocks, put it under there, get these 2 bolts in, install the front compensator arm as well as the upper arm, then the lower arm, and let's see. So we've got all the part numbers. So here's the part number. for the compensator arm. So that's the toe at the front of the trailing arm. And here is the Honda part number for the upper arm. Alright, so I'll get that roughly in place, keep everything loose, jack up to ride height, and then torque everything down. You can't actually get it to ride height, at least I can't. On the other side it starts to lift off the jack, so once it lifts off the jack I'll torque everything. Alright. And in addition to all the torques, obviously I'm using blue Loctite. So it's not as strong as the red, but it's removable. So, alright, we will proceed. Okay, so just the trailing arm, 2 bolts are in. I left them out, probably like 4 or 5 threads, so that later when you do the rear lower trailing arm, it's a real pain in the ass to get the alignment for the lower one. So you really have to juggle it, get that bolt in. So I'm going to leave myself a little bit of play here. So next I'll do the parking brake and route. Do the parking brake. Let's see. Then I want to reassemble the top bolt of the control arm, and then reassemble the ABS line, sensor line, to the lower control arm. Get that in place. You know, put the shock on, and then do the upper arm. All right. Okay, so the lower control arm is in. It's a major pain in the ass. Let's see if you can see. So remember to put this guy in. Remember to put that guy in. Let's see if I can pull light. This bottom bolt is a pain. You have to really play with the geometry to get it to line up. So that's all hand tight. Sorry about the shaky cam. And put some Loctite on these guys. Install the upper arm, curve side up, and put that bolt in. Then we'll do the compensator, and we'll make sure the toe is set up like it was before. Okay, upper arm is in. Next, I reattach the banjo connection for the brake line. You got to remember to route it above the control arm between there and the shock. And next, I will install the ABS sensor right there. Okay, so I'm up under the car, and I'm kind of an idiot. I didn't install the compensator arm to trailing arm bolt along with the compensator arm before putting it in, because you can't get, I don't know if you can see, you can't get the bolt in between this, sorry for the shake, between this piece here and this piece here. You can't get it in and around. So I undid the 2 trailing arm bolts, and it pitches forward, and you can hopefully just get it in there. So I'm going to try that, and I'll let you know if it works. Otherwise I have to dismantle everything and put this in and then reassemble everything. Okay, so it worked. So I put that in, it's hand tight, and I will do the trailing arm bolts and then put that guy in on the scribe line on the other side that I did previously. Alright, so it is jacked up to about ride height, and I will go through and torque everything to the specified torques. Alright. Okay, you do the 2 rear trailing arm to frame bushing, rear trailing arm bushing to frame bolts to 47 foot-pounds. For the upper arm, you do this guy to 40. And the upper to 29. Okay, so you torque each of these guys to 40 foot-pounds. Ah, shit. Alright. Hopefully I got that on camera. Alright, I couldn't get it on camera, but you do both of these guys. That guy and that guy to 16. Alright, so that's the front of the trailing arm there. That's the compensator arm. I've got it back on the scribe line, and you do these guys, both of them to 47 foot-pounds. I can't get my torque wrench in there, so I just get it really tight, and I feel what that feels like. So you just kind of do the same. And finally the banjo bolt to 25 foot-pounds. Alright, so that's it. Hopefully you guys find it useful, and you know, it's not the usual stuff I do for my Triumph over there. But the West Acura, I think, is done. I may decide to do the timing belt before I sell it. But hopefully I'll be back on the Triumph pretty soon. Thanks, guys.